Hi, my name's Joe. I admit, I was never the one in class who people thought would be someone. I was pretty plain. Almost invisible. I had no great talents, nor intellect. The one thing I had going for me was my intuition. Somehow, I could always tell when something was about to happen, and it freaked people out. That kinda made me an outcast. But by high school, I'd learned to hide it enough that I somehow made some friends. And by prom night, I had a girlfriend. I asked Becca to prom because I didn't know who else to ask. She was the only one of my friends who's a girl, and I really lucked out when she said that nobody else had asked her. Before our first dance ended, Becca kissed me. It was a dream come true. She became my girlfriend and we ended up going to the same college. It felt like I had all my ducks in a row. I was going to graduate, get a nice job in the city, and in a few years, I was going to marry the love of my life. Unfortunately, the real world wasn't as simple as either of us thought. Suddenly, we had bills, and the jobs we were hoping to land weren't the ones we got. Becca wanted to be a fashion designer, but she ended up bagging groceries at the local Swole Foods. I thought I'd become an architect, but life had other plans. And the only job I could get after sending my resume to 50 different firms and every other business in town was as a painter and handyman for my old high school buddy. My boss would always threaten to fire me if a single customer wasn't happy. Yeah, we weren't great friends anymore. Becca became unhappy very quickly, especially when I moved us both to a small one-bedroom apartment close to the industrial part of town. This isn't the life I deserve, you know. I know. Then why don't you do something about it? I'm working all day and I can't even buy myself a nice pair of shoes. And now, we have to live in this disgustingly small matchbox of an apartment. What will all our old classmates say? Oh, it's so embarrassing. I don't think they'll even remember us. Maybe you. I won't let anyone see me going into this gross place. Ugh, there's a literal junkyard in the same block! I'm doing my best, Becca. You're not doing enough. If you don't get your act together, I'm gone. That was about the time I first heard about this new coin. I was scrolling through Reddit and the hype was huge for crypto, until I saw something that made me laugh. It was called Dogecoin. I was pretty sure it was some nerd's idea of a meme. But somehow, something about it drew me in. I witnessed Bitcoin's meteoric rise, and back then I didn't have 2 cents to my name. So, I knew I had to ride the wave this time and see if it paid off. The first time I got a bonus from a client, I invested it into the coin. Unfortunately, Becca went snooping into my accounts and found out. What's this? Where did this $500 go? I invested it. Invested it in what? It's this new coin. The name's stupid, but I swear, I have a good feeling about it. They were selling for 0.0001 per coin, and I thought it'd be good to get in before it blows up. Crypto? You put good money on crypto? Are you? Oh my god, you're stupid. You're so stupid. You just threw that money down the drain. I could have bought myself some shoes, or at least get me that engagement ring you promised. My family's already making fun of me for running off with a penniless house painter. No matter how much I tried to convince her that my investment was for both our futures, she never believed me. Until one day I saw her come out of my boss's office. What are you doing in Matt's office? She sighed. Well, the cat's out of the bag. Guess there's no point in hiding it. Matt burst out of his office and tried to act like nothing was amiss. But Becca told him the jig was up. Well, you've been neglecting your girl, man. She needed attention. She needed to be spoiled, so I gave her something you couldn't. Becca held her hand up and I saw a brand new sparkling diamond ring on her finger. What? You're stealing my... Yeah, you got a problem with that? I thought you were my friend. I'm your boss, and it's not my fault you're poor. Exactly, and you'll always be poor. It's time I moved on to someone better. Someone with an actual future. Becca, please. Matt, you can't do this to me. Becca, if you just wait, I promise my investments will work out. Becca laughed. Your crypto? Oh, get this, Matt. This guy really thinks cryptocurrency is gonna be a thing. Did you know he dumped $500 on that nonsense? Everyone laughed, and Matt sneered at me. You really are dumb, and that's why you'll never get this girl. My coworkers just watched. Some of them were laughing at how pathetic I was. I was on my knees, begging for her not to leave me. Instead, she took Matt's arm and kissed him. Oh, and you're fired. Don't want you hanging around my place of business looking all sad. It'll scare the clients. And besides, I don't want you anywhere near my Becca. I couldn't move from the shock. I was stunned that my life was crumbling before my eyes. They had to make security carry me out of there. I didn't know what to do. Becca took all her things and moved out. And I was left alone. No job, no money, no way to pay for anything. I was lucky that our landlady was very kind. She told me I could stay as long as I wanted, as long as I made sure to get back on my feet again. Sophie was an inspiration to me. Just talking to her every day motivated me. And I went out there. I knocked door to door. I offered my handyman services to anyone who needed anything done. I fixed pipes, mowed lawns, cleaned and organized their garages. I did everything. Until one day, an old widowed lady asked me to paint a huge room in her house. She wanted a mural. I used to do art when I was at school, but it had been a while, so I wasn't sure. But the old lady just smiled and told me to surprise her with whatever I came up with. She told me she used to go to the south of France a lot with her husband while they were young. So, I decided to paint a huge painting of the coast of Montpelier on her walls. It took me over 2 weeks. But when I finished and Mrs. Henderson saw what I did, she started crying. She hugged me and thanked me. She said it was like she was there again, and that her husband would have loved it. As thanks, she gave me $1,000 more than what I charged, and she told all her friends about me. I got a ton of business thanks to her. But then Matt got wind that I was competing with his guys. He told everyone I was fired for stealing, and he even used Becca to spread word that the whole town should be careful about letting me in their houses. I lost all my new clients, and I was down in the dumps again. Only Sophie was there to listen. But as she was comforting me that night, my phone beeped. I got a message from someone on Reddit. Check your wallet. This is crazy. I immediately opened my app and was surprised that my $500 had quadrupled. I watched that whole night as the value kept climbing up. Even Sophie got so excited she dropped some cash into it before the coin went up to $1. We were glued to my screen, watching as the value skyrocketed. And then suddenly, I was a millionaire. I couldn't believe it. It felt like I was in a dream. But then I got an intuition again. I knew I had to sell before things began to crash. So, when I knew I'd made as much as I wanted, as much as I needed to live a carefree life, I sold all of it. In the span of a few days, I had a couple million in the bank. I then invested in Ethereum and Bitcoin, because I knew those would at least be a bit more stable and would continue to climb over the years. But now, I could pay Sophie back, and more. I started my own business. I hired young, inexperienced kids who were loyal, and I made sure I trained them to be better than anyone at Matt's company. At night, we snuck into his offices and put a chemical compound in his cans of paint that would attract all sorts of bugs and termites. And within the week, Matt lost all of his clients. I swooped in with my new crew. We fixed all the insect damage for free. I caused it in the first place, and I felt guilty. But that free service made everyone in town loyal to me. From that day on, they called only my company if they needed something done. I got a lot more demand for the kind of mural I did at Mrs. Henderson's house, and I started raking in cash. My work got featured in magazines, and soon, Clients were flying me all over the country and paying top dollar for my services. I moved out of my tiny apartment, bought a seaside villa in Malibu, and moved Sophie in as well. We started dating when I realized all the good things happened to me because of her encouragement. She loved me without wanting anything from me. She never even asked for a single gift. One day, as Sophie and I were enjoying a sunset date on our porch, we heard a loud knock. She opened the door and two people clambered over each other to reach me. I got here first! Get out of my way! No, he's my buddy! I get to talk first! You promised to marry me! Oh, I accept! Don't listen to her! Look, man, I need a job. Your business is swallowing mine, and I'm penniless. You gotta help me. I turned to them both and smiled. First off, I never asked you to marry me, Becca. And if I did, your chance has passed. Secondly, Matt, you fired me. You told me I was your worst worker. But if you really need a job, you can always apply like the rest. Would I hire you? Pfft, I don't know. Becca begged to stay, but I pushed her out and closed the door on her face. There was nothing more satisfying than seeing her reaction when I suddenly went down on one knee and offered a massive diamond ring to Sophie in her stead.